if your childhood was like mine, then if I said my brother and sisters and I were like oil and water, you probably know what I'm talking about, right? Despite our shared DNA and the fact that we're basically Irish quadruplets, apologies to my Irish friends, but that's like 4 of us in 5 years, not much time between us all. But we just kicked and punched our way through our childhood together, and hit and scratched and yelled. And a thing I keep hearing in my head always is my dad saying, simmer down, But, I think we're always just trying to fight for our little space in the house, our little thing to call our own. And even when we watch TV, right, if we got up from our chair to go get a snack or go to the bathroom, we would put a King's X on it. Did anybody else do King's X when they were kids? That meant no one could sit in your chair. I think we also were trying just to vie for a little bit of my mom's attention or her approval, and might try and clean up our room for a change or try and get better grades. But there were times when we did, form alliances and or sometimes truces or gang up on each other. It just depended. So I'll tell you a little bit about my siblings, because it kind of works into the way you're going to hear this story. So the oldest, my oldest sister, we'll call her C, firstborn, so she got all the special treatment of a firstborn child, but didn't last long, right? Because then came 2, 3, and 4 right after her. And from going firstborn special kid to the one responsible for all the bad things the younger ones did, it was a really tough break for her. And one of my other sisters, my sister M, in the middle child, we used to crash into my sister's room on a Sunday morning when she was just trying to get away from us all and reading her book in peace and quiet, and we'd jump all over her bed and make her life miserable. Now, I also have a brother, one boy amongst all us girls, and he was kind of always aloof, and we all kind of felt that Mom kind of favored him over the rest of us, and he seemed to like to lord that over us too. He was tough growing up with. I recall a punch to the stomach over a jar of peanut butter, and that's a story for another day, but it wasn't easy for me or for him being the only boy, I guess. And then there was the middle child, my sister, Em, I'll call her, the black sheep of the family. She came out feet first and been kind of a kicking and screaming through our adolescence and into adulthood. But, as we all grew up, actually, I have to tell you one more thing about my middle sister, Em. She was tough too, and you really didn't want to mess with her. As a matter of fact, she once hit a neighbor kid over the head with a metal lunchbox, just to give you an idea. But, as we grew up and moved away from each other, started jobs, went to college and had families, it became harder and harder for us to spend time together, like many families. We might get together for a holiday, maybe 2 or 3 of us, but rarely was it ever the 4 of us all together at one time, maybe a wedding or a funeral. But then came last year, right, with COVID, and our chances of being together were even less at that point. So we did what everybody's been doing this past year, and we got on Zoom together, just like we are tonight. And we stumbled our way through it as we all tried to learn our way around Zoom and talking over each other and looking at chops of each other's heads or the hair on our chins. And finally, we got it pretty well figured out and spent, Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's Eve, and even my sister's 60th birthday party on Zoom. It's been great. Well, about a week and a half or so ago, we were just on one of those regular, for whatever reason calls, no special occasion. And it was kind of funny as we're all coming on, how you do with Zoom, one screen pops up and there's one of your siblings and we're saying hi. And my oldest sister and my brother and I were all on, and we could see each other, and we're chit-chatting with one another as my middle sister is coming on. And somehow she can see us, and we can hear her and see her, but she can't hear us. And she's in there, oh my God, what the fuck is the matter with this thing? What am I supposed to do? And I thought I came on early, and her usual style. So my sister M, and we're all kind of chuckling at ourselves. My brother, being the gallant man he was, he actually scribbled on a piece of paper and held it up to the screen, and it said, turn your speakers out. She was like, oh, okay, got it. So there we were having our usual conversation. We're saying hi, checking in on each other's health, like older people do, and how the weather's been, and talking about the kids, the cousins, the nieces, the nephews, the dogs, the cats, and all of that. And then we kind of just settled into our conversation, and my middle sister started saying, hey, I've been doing this thing on Ancestry.com, and I'm trying to fill in some of the blanks. I want to get this stuff down before I forget it. And she's asking us all, well, who was great Aunt so-and-so married to, and didn't they move to such a place, and who remembers, this person? And then my older sister, C, chimes in, and she said, well, I have been emailing with some old cousins of ours, we haven't talked to them for like 30 years, but they contacted me through 23andMe. And then my brother, who is actually a history major, you know, he's above all those platforms. He just knows this stuff and does his own research. And he's been looking into family members and their military history, especially one great uncle of ours that we talked a lot about. And I'm watching this little scene here of my siblings who we never used to get along, but here they're all doing the same thing individually on their own and interested in the same thing. And it was so miraculous to me. So I chimed in, I said, hey, you know, you should put all this information in one place and share it. And the room was dead quiet. It's like we reverted all to our childhood selves. What do you mean, share? Ooh, no, no. They looked at me, shook their head, and then kept on talking. So as I'm watching my siblings and their little Brady Bunch squares, I'm thinking to myself, you know, my oldest sister, see, she's looking a little tired. I know she really rather would just go get a book, climb into a comfortable chair and a glass of wine and ignore us all. And then there's my brother, you know, he wasn't easy to, like I said, to grow up with, not the best big brother. But you know what, I realized he's made a really great uncle. As a matter of fact, he's has helped my daughter a lot, you know, encouraged her to take a road trip and encouraged her to be who she needed to be and wanted to be. And then, you know, the one with the lunchbox, well, so when we were little, she used to take me to the bathroom in the middle of the night when I was too afraid to walk down the hall by myself. So anyway, I realized that if you shake something really, really hard, like this past year has been for all of us, if you shake it up really hard, that even oil and water can get along, even if it's just for 40 minutes on a Zoom call. Thanks.